Hello, everyone. We are finally back to talk about The Force Awakens. I am Brian McNichols. That is Angela Dahlgren over there. And we kind of hit some snags in our Star Wars rewatch schedule. um,
We did. This was very unexpected.
yeah,
Brian, what did you have? You went on vacation,
I
didn't
went
you?
on. I
That's
was at the Grand Canyon for the last week or so. Well, I came back Friday, but then my kids had an early dismissal on Friday, so we would have had to change the time to do it then. And then you had some family emergencies come up,
good.
and so between D found us still. Hi D.
I did.
Um, and yeah, so we kind of had to just surprise everybody with a uh, discussion of the Force Awakens. And
Yeah.
I think right now we're aiming to do the Last Jedi next Monday. Is that it? Or
Yes.
that's Memorial Day, right? Is that?
Yeah, because Friday we were thinking about doing something and it's like, no, we're gonna try for Monday. So if you guys are around on Memorial Day,
Yeah. If not, you
hang
can
out with
always
us.
watch it later on YouTube. And
Yeah.
we are under 2 weeks now until Galaxy's Edge opens at Disneyland. So it is a week from Friday, which sounds real close all of a sudden.
It's kind
Um,
of insane that that's all we have left after this journey. We've been doing it almost every Friday for like what, 8 weeks.
mhm.
This is our only little blip in the schedule.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
I didn't rewatch the movie again. I watched it twice before we were initially going to do this, like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And then I haven't watched it since. So luckily, I have seen this movie several times in the last couple of years. So I remember it pretty well. Um,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay.
so let's. Also, I should probably mention I'm gonna have to leave at about 45 minutes after. That's why we started a couple minutes early.
Yes.
So we're gonna do this one's gonna be a little more abridged than normal. Uh, if we have the time, we might go a little long on the Last Jedi,
Hmm.
so that we can also do kind of a series wrap up and that kind of stuff. So
Kind of do our rankings and
yeah,
everything.
yeah, we'll make
Yeah.
up for it next week. Plus, I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot to talk about the Last Jedi. So.
Yes. Also,
Um,
if you haven't not been listening to our podcast, we have a new episode out. Well, last Monday we have a new episode
mhm.
out, but you can always head over to iTunes or TuneIn or FeedBurner and check that out.
Yeah,
Brian and I do that together, and we often have guests
there
on the
will
show.
be a new episode coming out sometime this week. I think I just got it back from the editor today, so
Perfect.
so that will come out maybe Wednesday-ish. It'll be a little late, but that's okay. We have to record the next one yet anyway. So,
Hmm. Yeah, we'll get
um,
there.
yeah. All right, so The Force Awakens. This was the first of the Disney-run saga movies. So everyone was very nervous about this one when it came out, which was
Mhm.
December 18th, 2015.
Wow.
It was the first movie for 10 years. It was a full 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. In the
Mhm.
timeline, it takes place right after Return of the Jedi. Well, not right after. It takes place 32 years after Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
It of course came out. I believe it is 32 years after Return of the Jedi, right? That was 83, I think.
Yes.
So, so it that makes sense. Or no, yeah, I'm sorry. It takes place 34 years after
Yes.
ABY. So no, wait, that's not right. It takes place 34 years after Return of the Jedi. I messed up my notes here. It came out 32 years after. It takes place 34 years after. Not sure why the difference, but so where were you as a Star Wars fan leading up to The Force Awakens, Angela?
I was just like kind of like everyone else, just kind of waiting around. I feel like this was another lull, like between, I guess, the 80s and, the prequels. So it's
Hmm.
just kind of waiting around. I don't know. I wasn't really expecting them to do any movies. It's just kind of
Hmm.
that was that. I guess I thought maybe they would at some point, but December 18th, 2015, I was very, very pregnant with my son.
Oh, jeez.
Like I think he was born January 9th, so that should
Oh,
give you a hint
so
as to
yeah,
how pregnant I was.
yeah.
So I was really hoping that this movie would put me into labor. I was just like, okay, get it done with. I need some Star Wars excitement to get things going. So I had my huge bowl of popcorn. I'm like, let's do this. I was very, very excited for it to come out, especially when I heard that they were going to do more movies. But I think like everyone else, or not, maybe not everyone else, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, okay, how are they going to do this? I was excited for them to bring back original cast. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if you were as well, but like Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher,
Yeah.
everyone was kind of wondering about
Mark
Mark
Hamill, sort
Hamill.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was the same way. I didn't, at this point, up until 2010, I just assumed we had seen our last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Which made me, it was one of the reasons I carried a lot of distaste for the prequels, I think, is because I thought, oh, this is the last, the
Mhm.
last Star Wars movie I'm ever going to get to see is Revenge of the Sith, which I didn't really like, as, I discussed a lot. We talked about the prequels a long time ago, it feels like now.
Yeah.
Um, so I was happy when Disney bought Lucasfilm that, okay, we might get Star Wars movies. We might get Star Wars in the theme parks,
Mhm.
both of which turned out to be true.
Mhm.
And, but of course, yeah, I was a little bit nervous because I was, the last Star Wars movies I didn't really like that much. And,
Right.
J.J. Abrams was signed on to, write and direct. And I had liked I'd like some of his movies that I had seen. I'm still a big fan of Lost, which he had at least something to do with. So, I was kind of hopeful. And then, like you said, when they announced that, they had kind of said beforehand that this was going to be kind of the old guard handing off to the new. So they were bringing back, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill
Mhm.
and introducing new characters. And it was going to kind of be a changeover to the new characters. So I thought, okay, that's a smart way to do this.
Right.
It grounds us in the world with people we already know and kind of
Mhm.
helps hand it over. And I, not to ruin the ending here, but I was very, very happy when I saw it the first time. It definitely uses a lot of things from the first trilogy. Um, but I think they go into enough new territory that it feels different still. Um,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy the way that they did this movie.
Yeah. It doesn't. How do I word this? Like whenever they do new films, you always think like, oh, it's not going to be as good as the original because it's new people, new things. But because they used the original cast, like you said, they kind of led us into new territory very gently,
Yeah.
very slowly, and they kind of hung on to that original nostalgia, which I just appreciated it
Hmm.
overall, and
Yeah,
we'll talk a little
you can
more
tell
about
it was
that.
definitely made by Star Wars fans
It was
both
thoughtful.
for better and worse.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
they at least you could tell they at least loved they at least loved the property themselves. I see 26 Humor 26 here, is from Southern California, and asked if the next Star Wars movie, the Rise of Skywalker, will beat Avengers Endgame in the box office. I don't think so.
I don't think
I
so.
mean, there's only one movie still that is above Endgame in the total box office, and that's Avatar. And Endgame actually has a shot at that one. I
Yeah.
think it's tough to say any movie is going to actually get that high.
Well,
Um,
I'm just going to address a few more comments before we jump right in, just because I don't like it. I don't like ignoring you guys.
yeah, I know.
Dee said, in love with your Instagram page. I'm glad I finally joined Instagram. We work very hard on our Instagram page, mainly because I, I'm behind a lot of
I
it.
was gonna say mainly Angela works very
Me,
hard on it. Yes.
me and Daisy Lauren, and we have someone in the parks who's amazing getting you guys that in-park footage. So if you are not a part of our Instagram page, give us a follow.
And
I just put out a giveaway.
definitely
What?
sign up in the next week because we're gonna have a lot of Galaxy's Edge stuff.
Yes.
So
And I just announced a giveaway today. So head over to our page and hit follow because just put it up right before we started this live stream. We're doing a giveaway. Um, and Humor's from Southern California. Sandy says, good morning. Hello, Farah. And Humor's Galaxy Edge reservation is June 8th.
nice.
Um,
We we currently have reservations for I think May 31st, June 1st, June 2nd, June 4th. We've had a lot of people working on reservations.
Spoiled.
Yeah, yeah.
Nicole says hello from the Midwest. That's where I am too. And Josh and Natalie say good morning. Normally it's Josh who watches. So thank you for all of you who continue to join us on the Star Wars rewatch. We really like
Um,
having you here.
all right,
All
so
right.
we should probably get into it here.
Yes.
Um,
All right. Let's do it.
First up, we start on Jakku. On the planet Jakku, Resistance pilot Poe Dameron receives a map to Luke Skywalker's location from Lor San Tekka. Stormtroopers commanded by Kylo Ren destroy the village and capture Dameron. Poe's droid BB-8 escapes with the map and encounters a scavenger Rey near a junkyard settlement. Stormtrooper FN-2187, unwilling to kill for the First Order, frees Poe, and they escape in a stolen TIE fighter. Poe names FN-2187 Finn. As they turn back to Jakku to retrieve BB-8, they are shot down by a First Order Star Destroyer and crash land. Finn survives and assumes that Poe died in the crash. He didn't. He encounters Rey and BB-8, but the First Order tracks them and launches an airstrike. Finn, Rey, and BB-8 flee the planet in the Millennium Falcon, which they steal from a junkyard, which seems apropos.
I guess I just have so many questions.
there's a lot. Yeah.
Like, why did Larsan have Luke's location? Did Luke give it to him? Why did he give it to the Resistance now after all this time? Like, why is the Empire like why is the First Order like rising up again? Like, well, I don't know.
The second one there, I have some answers for. Lor San Tekka having the map, I never quite understood, and that comes in later with when R2-D2 wakes up. I don't know. And has like a map with a big hole in it. And Lor San Tekka's map fits perfectly in that hole. And yeah, you kind of think like, well, was this a plan? Like, was Lor San Tekka told like, yeah, was he told like, oh, when they really need me, give them this map? But then Luke doesn't seem to be happy to see Rey when she shows up. That's more in the next movie. But so yeah, it's very weird why there's a partial map and then the rest of the map, and then like that whole part, the whole part leading to Luke is weird, and I think that's why they kind of blow through it, because they're like, we don't really have an explanation for this. Let's just hope people don't pay that much attention. Yeah. Hey, look over there. Did you see the rolling droid? Isn't that cool?
Wow, look at that. BB-8, cool. Yeah.
BB-8 is very cool, by the way. I like BB-8 a lot. But yeah, that now the First Order, I can't answer. This was in supplemental materials. They did kind of tell this story. And after the events of Return of the Jedi, there was the Battle of Jakku between the Resistance and I think part of the Republic versus the Empire. And that is why there are so many wrecked spacecraft and everything littering the deserts of Jakku. Okay. That was kind of the final battle. After that, the Empire surrendered. But part of their military, some of their more hardcore members of the military, rather than surrender, they fled to an unmapped area of the galaxy, similar to like where Luke is, where people don't actually know where those planets are. That military eventually started the First Order and started to grow, started to gain followers amongst the people who thought that the Republic were not militant enough. So that is why there is a First Order and why they are pretty insane. And then they basically we see them gain full power when they destroy the Republic. But the Republic are not sanctioning them. They are not actually in charge when this movie starts. They kind of become in charge later because they blow up 5 planets that have most of the Republic on them. It's not super well explained in the movie, and it's one of those that this would have been better told over like 2 movies instead, if not 3, rather than 1. But I understand after the prequels, I could see that they didn't want to get into a lot of like boardroom, infighting and things like that. I think they were very, very afraid to do too much political stuff in the films after how the prequels were received. So I'm okay with it. I'd rather this than over explaining. At least this I can be like, okay, fine, whatever, I don't care.
As far as characters go, I didn't really like Jyn Erso right away. I don't know why, but I did like Rey right away. I did like Finn right away. Poe, like they make the characters very likable in this film. And however, you and I both aren't super fond of Captain Phasma. I don't know. I don't think her voice really matches her suit, but I think that's just me.
Yeah, I don't mind Captain. I honestly can't decide what I think about Captain Phasma. I like the look. I think the chrome look is really neat. I love Gwendoline Christie, the actress that's inside there. very much like the fact that it is a female stormtrooper, obviously in
Hmm.
charge, but that
Yep.
they don't really they don't even really focus on that it's a female stormtrooper. Like the armor doesn't look any different shape wise or anything like that. Um, but they don't really seem to do a lot with her. Almost like they were like, oh, this looks cool, but they don't really know exactly what to do with it. Um, but but yeah, I like Poe Dameron a lot. I also I knew Oscar Isaac was the one act of the new actors that I knew beforehand, and I was a fan of his anyway, so that helps.
Hmm.
Finn, I'm okay with. I think Finn is underused a lot in these movies. Part of that because
Yeah.
Poe apparently was actually supposed to die fairly early on, and they kept him because they liked the way Oscar Isaac played him so much. Um, and I think Poe ended up stealing some of Finn's storyline.
Well,
Um,
and that's too bad because Finn does such a good job just kind of being like he's just a mess, you know, like it's so clear that he's in this environment that he's really uncomfortable with and he gets out of it and he's just like I don't know what to do from here and he just
yeah.
plays that so well. You
Oh,
can just feel
I think
like
the
that.
acting is very
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
it is.
And Ray, I love. I love Ray's character.
By the way, I love it. I see you guys having conversations in the comments.
I
I
know.
love that. That's like my
Um,
favorite. I'm kind of watching it and we will address some of these right now.
yeah.
I guess I'm
Yeah.
bringing it up.
Terry asked if we got an invitation to see Galaxy's Edge early. We did. We did not. We are not on Disney's press list currently. Disney and Universal. It's not just Disney. They, as part of their press credentials, they basically um, tell you tell you kind of what to say about new things. So if you get in on the press event, you will see a lot of different articles with the same talking points and sometimes the same language. We refuse to agree to that, so they don't invite us to stuff.
And you know,
But we are getting in as early as possible by any other means we can.
well, and in addition to that, just I've heard that it's mainly uh, full-time news outlets
Mhm.
for Galaxy's Edge that are mainly getting those media things. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I
but
believe even Jim Hill, who usually gets in on them, I think has been having some trouble getting in on the press. I
yeah,
think he managed to. I'm not 100% sure, but I know even he had some trouble, and he usually is on their good side with that stuff.
yeah.
So.
Why is there a resistance separate from the Republic?
Mm-hmm.
This is Brian's question.
Yeah,
Brian Craig.
I don't know because they are backed by the Republic, but I guess it kind of they kind of make it sound like it's a little under the table, like they're
Mhm.
just kind of secretly backing them. But why not just if they're fighting the First Order and the Republic doesn't like the First Order, why not just fight them with your army at that point? I
Right.
don't know. I think they just needed something that was like the rebellion. So
I guess to wrap up this section, because we say that we're gonna rush and then we always take our time.
yeah,
Kylo Ren's speaking voice, it's just like he's just so over the top, Kylo Ren,
yeah,
and I don't know how I feel about it, but like I listen to him speak and just like his whole like persona, you can tell it's just over the top. Like he's like he's like how he thinks Darth Vader should
yes. I
be.
think that's exactly what it is. He is a Darth Vader wannabe in every
Yeah.
level. I love his look. Here he is, and this is from Jakku when he stops the laser blast, which it actually looks really neat. But I love that he looks so homemade. He is. You can see like all the scratches and everything in his helmet. Like he kind of banged it out himself. The lightsaber is, I believe the story is his kyber crystal is cracked. And he didn't really know 100% how to build the lightsaber, so that's why it's very crackly
Oh.
looking compared to the other ones. He is exactly a homemade Darth Vader, and he does exactly that's exactly what it is. He's cosplaying as Darth Vader basically, and I love it. Kylo Ren is one of my favoritely built characters in the entire Star Wars universe. I think they took a lot of the mistakes that George ultimately made with Anakin in the prequels and made Kylo such deep character that you can kind of understand a little bit. I mean, you never quite understand why he's, insists on being evil, but
Yeah.
you can at least feel the tension and
The
the
confusion.
confusion within him. Like I don't think he's really that evil, but he really
Mm-mm.
wants to be for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Like,
Yeah. And you can really feel that, especially towards the end. And really throughout, I
yeah.
would say,
Well,
now that I'm
and
thinking
once
about
when he kind of takes the mask off and you see that he's just some guy. Like
it. Yeah.
he's not wearing the mask for a reason other than that he wants to be Darth Vader so bad.
And
Um,
really, the fact that he takes the mask off at all, which Darth Vader
yeah.
in the films never does until the very end when
Well,
he's
because
like about
I
to
mean,
die.
he can't. Like, it's actually part, which, when you see Kylo Ren, you kind of think, like, oh, is this just another person who
It's
has some
another
sort
thing.
of, some sort of, hindrance of why he needs a mask? And then then you find out, oh, no, it's just some kid who really wants to be a Sith Lord like Darth
Yeah.
Vader.
Yeah.
Um, but and then we find out, of course, that Darth Vader is his grandfather and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, the temper tantrums he throws are kind of hilarious, but also pretty sad. It's the stuff that I wish they did more with Anakin. Like, Anakin was a little bit the other way, where he really wanted to be good and
Mhm.
just kind of wasn't. But like, we never really felt that in there. We never felt that pull. It more seemed like, oh, he's a good guy. Oh, no, he's not. And then at the end of Jedi, it's like, nope, he is again. It's okay. Like,
Well, Anakin had a lot against him. He had a lot of hardships in his life where it's like, Kylo Ren, you really, or
yeah,
Ben, I guess, you
yeah.
really don't get that feeling that there were
No,
a lot of
he's
tough things in his
no,
childhood.
he's
You know
kind
what
of
I
just a
mean?
spoiled brat that
Right,
is like, no, I'm rebelling from the family. Like, screw this,
right.
and
I
for
know.
no real reason. I mean, I mean, I think everybody kind of knows people like that too, which maybe makes
Mhm.
him a little bit more relatable than
Yeah.
than Anakin, who, Anakin was kind of gifted everything and then was just like, nah, I'm pretty angry.
Hmm.
I mean, there are parts of Anakin that you understand. He's obviously
Right.
torn up about his mother, which makes perfect sense. But
Hmm.
Kylo is just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I get a lot of amusement out of Kylo Ren being just this kind of whiny kid who just wants everybody to see how powerful he is, and
Yeah, he
everybody's
just
just
wants
kind of like,
power,
meh, okay.
I guess. Let's move on. I'm sorry
All
if I
right.
pronounce any of these words wrong.
Well, I
All
do
right.
not know how to say the name of this planet exactly, so go for
All
it.
right. Let's see. I'm just gonna say Takodana. There we go.
Takodana is how I've been pronouncing it, but it just kind of sounds like a lady named Donna that sells tacos. So,
Yeah, like I'm saying taco. The Falcon is captured by a larger ship piloted by Han Solo and Chewbacca. Oh, such a good scene. Okay. Looking to reclaim their former vessel. The group is attacked by gangs seeking to settle debts with Han and flee in the Falcon. At the First Order's Starkiller base, Supreme Leader Snoke allows General Hux to use the weapon for the first time. Snoke questions Kylo's ability to deal with emotions relating to his father, Han Solo. Meanwhile, the Falcon travels to the planet Takodana and meets with Cantina owner Maz Kanata. Did I say that right?
Maz Kanata, yes, that one is
Okay.
right.
Who offers assistance with getting BB-8 to the Resistance. Rey is drawn to a secluded vault and finds the lightsaber that once belonged to Luke and his father. The First Order attacks Takodana in search of BB-8 but are opposed by Resistance X-Wing fighters led by Poe. Leia arrives at Takodana with C-3PO and reunites with Han and Chewbacca. Kylo Ren captures Rey and takes her to Starkiller Base. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
There.
Yeah. There's a lot of. This is where we get reintroduced, I guess, to Han Solo and Chewbacca for the first time in a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, Han is still that person who tries to talk his way out of things. Harrison Ford is still a boss. And I
yeah.
don't know where I saw this, but Harrison Ford over the years developed this very gravelly voice.
Yes.
And it was very weird, actually. And I don't know if J.J. Abrams said this, but they're like, we don't want you to do that. We want you to have like your normal voice again. And you can tell that he really uses it again in this film.
Yeah.
And then of course, like I'm watching this right after Peter Mayhew dies, and I get
Well, yeah.
sad.
Yeah,
Um,
and Peter Mayhew is in the Chewbacca suit. Basically, by this time, I think Peter Mayhew was in a wheelchair for the most part. So I think the general rule is anytime Chewbacca is sitting down, it's Peter Mayhew in there. and when he's standing, it's the new actor whose name I don't remember, who was in Solo, and he was in Solo, and then forward. But yeah, this was Peter Mayhew's last. But I mean, I think that is honestly part of the reason why Chewbacca is sitting and laying down more often than you would think. Of course, he gets injured at this part, and then he's laying on the thing while Finn is taking care of him. And then when they get back to the base, he's sitting while that other woman is taking care of him. That great scene that I love where he's just going, "Rrr," and she's going, "Oh, that sounds very scary."
I know. I know, it's so cute.
Um, and I think all of that is just to try to get Peter Mayhew on camera as much as possible in the Chewbacca suit. So, um,
Well, I know that he did. Well, I read, so I don't know, but what I read is that he did PT himself out of the wheelchair for the film.
yeah,
So he did, I guess, stand to a certain extent,
yeah,
but
but and I don't know, and I don't know if anybody other than the people on the cast know exactly who was
really
who
no.
when, but I know they kind of shared it in this movie for the most part. So
And they do bring back, phrases like "I've got a bad feeling about this."
yeah, which I at this point, in this one, I don't mind it as much, but I feel things like that. I feel like sometimes they kind of hurt because then you just have everybody going, "Ah, they said it," like
And that's
instead of paying
distract.
attention to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
We have a question about Galaxy's Edge. Will the
mhm.
new cantina in Galaxy's Edge be based on the original cantina or the one from Last Jedi?
No, neither. It is
Yeah,
on the
it's its
planet
own.
Batu, which has
Hmm.
never been seen on film. So it is a cantina that is totally new, except that it does look a lot like the Mos Eisley Cantina for the most part. But I think it's kind of just an amalgamation of cantinas. I think for the most part it's supposed to look like the Mos Eisley Cantina from the original, but it's set. The timeline is set in it's in between movies 8 and 9 basically. It's pretty much current time, I guess.
Yeah.
So I imagine there will be elements of both in there.
Hmm.
But it's technically not any specific. Nothing in the land is specific to a movie location wise. There will be lots of things
Right.
that are reminiscent and characters that are reminiscent. The toy shop is run by a Toydarian, which was
Hmm.
Watto's race, but I believe is a female Toydarian. So it'll be a lot of things like that
But
are
it's its own
similar, but it's
thing.
not supposed to exactly be anything, which makes sense because that way they don't have to like keep changing it if these are reseen in the movies or anything like that. So
Yeah.
um, I will say the whole Rathtar sequence when the gangs come in, the Kaji Club is the only one I remember just because the line "Tell it to Kanji Club" it just makes me laugh every time in that Scottish accent that I did badly, but um, they. The monsters get released. That's kind of always the part where I just like get up and use the bathroom or
Hmm.
just skip ahead. Honestly, when I'm rewatching it, because it's fine, but I think that's one thing that probably could have been cut out if they wanted to
Hmm.
make this runtime a little bit shorter. What do you think about it? Do you like the Rathtars or?
I mean, the fact that I don't remember much of it kind
Hmm.
of says a lot about how I feel about
Yeah.
it. I'm just like, you're talking about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which part is this?
So
And I don't remember.
yeah, the monsters come out and they roll around. Yeah, it is. It's
I
a
mean,
little forgettable.
and you'd think monsters rolling around would be something to remember,
Yeah.
but it's honestly not that. It's just kind of forgettable.
Um,
I think more about like I remember Maz a lot more than I remember that part and Ray finding the lightsaber, that
yeah.
kind of stuff. Like kind of and again, I say this in other films, but Lupita's work is an example of taking a small role and making
Hmm.
it really big.
Yeah,
And I think she did a great job on
I,
that.
Maz Kanata is one of those characters I really don't want to like. I think the look is a little weird, and just in any all CGI character, I'm immediately a little bit taken back by. But she does great. I mean, Maz Kanata is a really good character. I kind of wish they didn't bring her back for the Last Jedi, just because her scene in the Last Jedi is really strange. But we'll talk about
Mhm.
that next week.
Yeah.
Um, but she's and apparently she was like on her knees in that suit, like
Oh,
climbing around
really?
on the table and stuff. Yeah, I guess she did
Oh
like
my
all the
gosh.
physical work for it too.
That's
So,
commitment.
I see Dee said that she heard they were going to have an alien band playing in the cantina. Not quite. They're going to have RX-24, although I think they changed his name to R3X now, but you'll know him as Rex, the former pilot of Star Tours, is the DJ in in Oga's
That's
Cantina. So
that's a good way to use him.
yeah, I'm sure there will be lots of music that is from the movies, but or remixes of them. But it's
Hmm.
apparently like a 3-hour playlist that he has.
Oh
So
my gosh.
so there's going to be a lot of stuff. Speaking of music, the song that you hear in the background of Maz Kanata's was co-written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who does a lot of work for Disney now, apparently.
Yes, go team.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, they're talking about, their new weapon again. It's just another Death Star.
It is.
Like
It is. In fact, the next segment of the notes I have here labeled Death Star Part 3 because it's just a little bit, well, quite a lot bigger Death Star, I guess, but it's just a Death Star.
what did you think about Rey's visions and her finding the lightsaber and all that stuff?
I love I love Ray's Visions sequence. It's one of the parts of the movie that you can kind of watch multiple times because there's so much. There's one, the pictures I have up here. The bottom one there is her in the hallway on Bespin in The Empire Strikes Back. Um, and you can kind of hear Luke and Vader fighting in the background, or at least hear lightsabers clashing. The top one there is Luke and his metal hand that he, of course, got in Bespin. Well, not got that, but he lost the real one, I guess. Touching R2D2 before he presumably has to flee after Kylo Ren, starts killing everybody. Um, an interesting theory I heard about that scene when he is tapping R2D2 on the head there is that he was putting his green lightsaber inside the holster that we know is in R2D2, and that sometime in the next movie Rey will need that, and R2D2 will have Luke's green lightsaber, which would definitely make me cry. Um,
Why?
but
Why? Why? Well, I mean, I think going into Galaxy's Edge, we're both gonna cry. But what was I gonna say? Oh, why was the lightsaber in the cantina?
that we don't know. Maz just kind of blows it off and says, "Oh, that's a long story." Um, but I mean, presumably somebody found it after, because this is the one that Luke was holding when his hand got cut off. So it
Yeah.
was presumably found in a trash chute in on Cloud City or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, we don't know. I don't remember if there is extended universe material about this or not, um, but yeah, somehow she got it at some point, and because yeah, Luke had a new one. He had his green one, and
Right.
I believe in the flashbacks we see in the Last Jedi, he has his green one. So it's not like I don't think he ever had the blue one again. So the one that was Anakin's. So no, that's just kind of another thing that we may never find out, or that they may just write into a book. They are writing new books and comic books and everything about some of these side stories. So maybe they already have written that, but I don't know. But no, I like the visions a lot. I think it's very cool. They have
Hmm.
Obi-Wan saying Rey in that, and he says Rey and something else, I don't remember. But the Rey part is actually Alec Guinness. They cut, I think he said the word afraid at one point in the movies, and they cut the Rey part out of the middle of it. And then the other part is a newly recorded section by Ewan McGregor.
Oh, cool.
The rest of it, which was very neat. Um, but it was one of the parts in the theater that like I couldn't wrap my head around. That it was so many flashes of weird things and the past and things we didn't know
Hmm.
that I liked it a lot. What was your feeling on that? Being 9.5 months pregnant, I'm sure your emotions were all over the place to start
Well, you
with.
can imagine.
So.
I'm just like eating popcorn, like, what's gonna happen? What's she gonna find?
Hmm.
I was more. I mean, I would say later in the film is what got me a little more.
Yeah.
Um,
Well. Yeah.
which
Okay.
I'll get into. But what I did question is what I wanted to talk about is the decision to have Finn use the lightsaber.
Hmm.
It really bothered me.
Really? Why is
Yeah.
that?
It's so weird to have a non-Jedi use it. and for him to be like semi good at it. I know Luke played with it at one point when he first got it way
Well,
back
there
when.
there are. I mean, the most well known one. I actually pulled the photo because I saw this in your notes. I just have to find it. There it is. Han Solo, of course, used Luke's lightsaber to cut open the not the wampa, the thing that he shoves Luke into, whatever.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
he picks it up and at least uses it as a tool more than to fight. Um, yeah, I think story wise they had Finn do that because at that point we still didn't know that Rey was the hero. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
Now it
true.
seems weird because it's like, oh well, of course, it's Rey. She's the Force user. But at that
Mhm.
time, we kind of knew she could use the Force, but we didn't know Finn couldn't really, or as far as we know, he
Yeah.
can't. So I think they did that a little bit as a misdirect to say, so you thought, oh yeah, here Finn, of course, is going to be the Tauntaun. Thank you. I knew somebody would jump in there. Thank you, Rogue Knight. Um, and I have so many Star Wars names in my head now that sometimes they get pushed back out. But so I think that, like from a story perspective, I think that was it. As far as him using it, that doesn't bother me a ton because I mean he didn't. All he did was kind of chop with it. It's not like he was a swordsman. And Ray and Kylo aren't either. The sword work is actually pretty bad. I think on purpose.
Yeah.
And he almost immediately lost to Kylo. So I don't hate it. It is weird, but I think, like I said, I think it was just as a misdirect. I think it's
Yeah.
the idea
Misdirection.
that like, oh no, Finn's the hero, and then all of a sudden,
It makes you kind of
Rey
question.
catches the lightsaber and the music swell. Because I think on the Star Wars Minute podcast, which I haven't plugged yet, they are just finishing up the Force Awakens now, and they pointed out that when Finn picks up the lightsaber, there's no music.
Hmm.
Which should be kind of a hint, like,
That's a
oh,
good
this
point.
isn't it. Like, but as soon as Rey gets it, the music swells up, and so that's how you kind of know, like, oh
Just
no,
like
this is the
feels
one.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so but let's before we get too much into that battle, let's jump to the last one. I know we're skipping a lot of our notes here, but I only have about 15 minutes left. So,
Let's do it.
um, but yeah, okay. So here we go. I got to find my plot thing. There it is. Death Star Part 3. Rey resists the mind-reading attempts of Kylo Ren. Discovering she can use the Force, Rey escapes by using the Jedi mind trick on a nearby guard who is Daniel Craig. At the Resistance base on Dakar, BB-8 finds R2-D2 has been inactive since Luke's disappearance for reasons unknown. As Starkiller Base prepares to fire on Dakar, the Resistance devises a plan to destroy it by attacking a critical facility. Using the Falcon, Han, Chewbacca, and Finn infiltrate the facility, lowering the planet's shields, find Rey, and plant explosives. Han confronts Kylo Ren, calling him by his birth name, Ben, and implores him to abandon the dark side. Kylo refuses and kills Han and raging Chewbacca, who shoots Kylo and sets off the explosives, allowing the Resistance to attack and destroy the base. In the nearby forest, Kylo defeats Finn in a lightsaber duel, but Rey takes the lightsaber and uses the Force to defeat Kylo before they are separated by a fissure of extreme convenience. On Dakar, R2-D2 awakens and reveals the rest of the map, which Rey uses to find the oceanic planet Octo, I think it is. There, she finds Luke and presents him with the lightsaber. The end.
Okay. So this is the part I found most powerful is the whole like Rey and Kylo Jedi mind trick thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and Daisy Ridley, did you see her audition tape for this?
No, I didn't.
She nailed this part every single time. Like the whole like tears and the shaking of this
Because that's,
part. Like
that's not easy to do. It's
it is
all facial
not
work. Yeah.
easy. No, I mean I'm a medical actor too for you guys who don't know. And so I will have to cry and do stuff like that sometimes. It's emotionally very, very exhausting. So the fact that she can do this like on demand, like that fast, every single time and nail it,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like so impressive. So just watching her do that, like for me, that's the thing that was like I was just like eating my popcorn, like this is so intense. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. By the way, you just like pulling out Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper, just so casually blew
Well,
my
because
mind.
it's in my notes, and I figured that would be one that I skipped, so I just at least threw it in there. Yeah, the mind tricked stormtrooper is James Bond himself. Um, he does the voice.
What?
He's in the suit and does the voice. So
Oh,
Although he does kind of an Americanized accent, I think, so you don't necessarily notice it's him. Yeah, D there says Daisy Ridley was born to play this role. I agree. She is
she's so
phenomenal
good.
as Rey. I love her in this part.
Yes.
Speaking of acting, I think the scene with Ben and Han on the bridge might be one of the better acted scenes in Star Wars. Hasn't necessarily been known for its great acting. There are definitely parts, but I mean, Adam Driver, I think is fantastic. I love him as Kylo Ren. I love
Hmm.
how he can be emotional, but still like kind of have
Have a wall
gravitas
up.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he doesn't just seem like a crybaby, even though like
Hmm.
he should. I mean, he's easily as whiny as like Luke in A New Hope or Anakin in certain parts was, but he doesn't come across quite as whiny, and I think that's just Adam Driver just can kind of do that a little bit better than those actors could at that stage in their career.
And
Um,
honestly, we see some solid acting from both Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher.
they are both very good. Harrison Ford, especially that scene,
Yeah.
the it's real, all of it scene when the
Oh,
hologram is around them. I mean that is done really really well. And
so good.
Harrison Ford is not. I mean, Harrison Ford is certainly capable of being a good actor. In the
Mhm.
last 20, 30 years, he hasn't tried super hard.
Mm-mm.
And I think however they did it, they got him to try hard in this. And I honestly wonder if some of it was because they told him, yeah, we're killing you off. This is it. This is the last time you have to do Han Solo. Like, go for it, please.
Well, and I
But
grew up watching Harrison Ford movies, so I saw him
mhm,
like in his prime watching all those movies.
yeah,
So I know what he's capable of. So when I saw the later films, like these past like 10 years or so, I'm
yes.
like, oof.
Like Hollywood
Um,
Handbook or Hollywood Detective. What is that called? I forget what it was. With it was terrible. It's so bad. He isn't trying even one bit in it.
but to see him come back to, these kind of roots, like he's so good.
He
And
is.
Carrie Fisher, she looks beautiful.
Hmm.
She did a great job. Like the two of them together, seeing them as parents, they still have that chemistry, but they have
Yeah,
it, differently. They have it as parents
yeah.
this time, and it's just done so well. Um, what else? Let's see. Oh, I wrote Chewie is the worst person to have around when you need to be inconspicuous. It's
Yes.
so true. He's
He's
so
just yelling
loud
all the time.
all
Yeah.
the time. What do you think overall of the bridge scene?
Like I said, I think it's incredibly well acted. I really, I mean, the whole time I thought, oh, this is where Harrison, this is where Han Solo dies, because I didn't know going in, I didn't get spoiled. Yes, Rogue Knight, Josh Hartnett is the other one in that movie. It's Hollywood something. I want to say Hollywood Handbook, but that's a podcast. I think it's Hollywood, but whatever. That was not really what we're talking about, I guess. Um, but as the movie went on, I kind of thought like, oh, I wonder if Han Solo is gonna die in this. And then when that scene started, I thought, oh, here it comes. Oh no. And then as they're talking, I actually kind of started thinking, oh, is Kylo Ren actually going to turn here? Like, is that going to be the story going
Mhm.
forward? Because they were playing it so well. And then, of course, as soon as they both kind of grabbed the lightsaber, I thought, oh no, never mind. This is not going
Yeah,
to go well. But I thought
I was not happy.
yeah, I mean, from a story perspective, I thought it worked really well. Again, it kind of helps. I think that was kind of the plan, is to get rid of one of the three main characters in each movie. Unfortunately, Carrie Fisher isn't really around to play her part in the newest movie, although I guess she is still kind of going to be in it using
Yeah.
footage that they had shot from the other movies. But um, but which is too bad and nothing you could do about, obviously. But I think it makes sense that Harrison Ford is the first to go. He kind of wanted to die in Jedi too,
Yeah.
so but Hollywood Homicide. Thank you, Rogue. That was going to bother me, um, but I think it makes there's in Avengers Endgame, and I won't spoil anything, but obviously there are people that don't make it, and one in particular was the same thing. It was hard to watch, but from a story perspective, I think it was the perfect time to do it, and I think Han Solo is the same way. I think this was just the perfect time to do it. That you can use that moving forward with Kylo Ren, and you don't have Harrison Ford complaining about being in the movie anymore. So win-win.
I was not
I
happy.
know.
It's in the notes. I'm still not
It's
happy
all
about it.
caps in the notes. She wrote many expletives, and by that I mean the word expletive.
I literally wrote expletive, expletive. Um, okay, so the lightsaber battle, because I know you have to leave in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, Seeing a lightsaber melt snow is something I didn't know I needed to see, but
Yeah.
I'm like so happy I did. It's such a cool effect.
The
It's another example where having no experience, Rey defeats Kylo simply by the Force. It's a
yeah,
pretty good battle. I
the
mean,
it's
it was interesting to
beautiful,
watch,
and
but the core trees,
the dark
yeah.
woods with the lightsabers glowing is a beautiful sequence. And they actually used, they sell, and I don't remember what they're called now, but they're the fancier lightsabers that you can buy that are actually like metal and have like the glass tube that glows. They actually used those in the film so that
Oh,
they would get the glow. Like that's part of how they got the glow onto their faces and everything, was that they were actually holding light up sabers. And
yeah.
then, of course, they digitally imposed over them and made them brighter and all that
Right.
stuff. But yeah, that was how they got. That's why how it was glowing onto their faces and everything like that. The trees getting cut down actually apparently was a note by Steven Spielberg. J.J. Abrams is apparently well known. I didn't really know this until reading about this movie, um, but he apparently is a big one for just asking anyone and everyone for their input on things. Um, and he any directors he knows or is friends with that were willing, he was just showing them sides and dailies and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
Steven Spielberg apparently saw this scene and said, "Well, how come the trees aren't getting knocked down? Wouldn't the sabers just cut right through them?" And
Hmm.
so that's why now that was done in post, where all the
Makes
trees fall
sense.
over. But I thought that was very funny that Steven Spielberg was just like, no, 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 that wouldn't happen like that.
Josh said found Kylo so much weaker than past Sith. Couldn't defeat Rey, who had never used a lightsaber, even had more trouble dueling with Finn. Yeah, which I mean, I
Yeah,
mentioned it's true. He really like
Kylo's
does
not a great
he doesn't have it
Jedi.
together.
And I think that's part of what, that's why, I don't think Snoke did much training with him. We didn't even
Mhm.
mention Snoke really here.
No,
But which I'm fine with. Snoke I don't think is that interesting a character. He's just this kind of
no,
background thing, and obviously Ryan Johnson didn't find him very interesting either.
yeah.
But they but yeah, he was definitely strong in the Force, but it was not under super control. He also, I see Rogue just pointed out, he also took a shot in the side from Chewbacca's bowcaster, which we've
Hmm.
seen like knock people across the room. So presumably that hurt a lot.
He's hindered a little bit. True.
But I mean, that's just kind of how these movies go. Is the one, the people who are strong in the Force can do things that are unnatural. I mean, when we met
Hmm.
Anakin, he was like a 7-year-old kid flying pod racers around, something no human could do.
Hmm.
He flew a ship into the middle of a battle and blew up the droid. Uh, whatever the droid machine, whatever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
spaceship was that was controlling the
Like got
droids.
rid of all the droids.
I mean, that's just kind of how Star Wars works. It's like, oh, if you're strong in the Force, you can kind of
It's
just do random things that are inexplainable. I mean, I think that's why Rey is a good pilot. Although she actually has had pilot experience apparently on the planet at least. And yeah, the same with the saber. Like the actual sword fighting isn't good. Compared to like the Anakin and Obi-Wan scene at the end of Sith, but I think that's on purpose. I think the idea is like, well, neither one of these two has been trained very much.
they're
Ray
amateurs.
Ray
Yeah.
can use her staff, which isn't that much different, and Kylo's been marginally trained by both Luke and then Snoke, so it's kind of like, they're not great at this. Like,
Yeah. And like Rogue Knight said he had been hurt. So
and that
um
whole thing with apparently was Adam Driver's improv to punch himself in the side as he was like bleeding is
oh
super creepy. Like
yeah.
that is a psychopathic move, and I something I have again I have maybe I've known the wrong people. I've seen people in fights do stuff. It's the same thing you'll see in movies where people like lick the blood off of like take the blood off their
Hmm.
mouth and then lick it and like crazy like things that
Hmm.
just say like, no, I am crazier than you. I'm gonna and it's one of those moves, and it's freaky. like to
Yeah.
watch him just hit himself in the side over like as he's starting, and you could see even Ray is kind of like,
Just
yo.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
All right, you have to go.
I
So
do
we
have to
will
go.
wrap this up, but we will be back next week
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah.
We will promote when we
Yes.
will be doing The Last Jedi. We'll be more on top of things this time around. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoyed talking about this with you, and we hope we'll see you next week then. All right, bye
Bye.
everyone.